He tapped the katana at his hip. Solid, familiar, the only thing in this whole broken world that never glitched, never lagged, never betrayed him to the dark. If he closed his eyes, he could almost forget the low buzz of static at the edges of his vision, the way things sometimes flickered out of sync. His chat was already spiraling into chaos. Baldy jump scare incoming. And run while you can. Scrolled so fast the words blurred together, a digital scream he could barely follow. But Corey just grinned, teeth sharp in the pale monitor glow.
Nah, we're pros at horror now. No mad demons taking me down tonight. Not this time. Not ever.
The front door hung sideways from rotted hinges. Half-Chewed would nod down to splinters where something, had kicked it in, maybe years, maybe decades ago. Corey shoved it open with his boot, the screeching whine knifing straight through his nerves. He caught the scent immediately. Old crayons, sour sweat, mildew so thick it clawed at the back of his throat. It was the kind of smell that stuck, that filled your lungs and made you want to gag.
Alright, it's just a building,
he muttered, stepping over a heap of shattered alphabet blocks, their edges dark with old stains.
Just a super creepy, definitely haunted, probably murdery building.
His flashlight sliced the dark open, revealing a classroom fossilized in time. Little chairs overturned, their plastic legs snapped and twisted like broken bones. Construction paper stars dangled from the ceiling, edges curled, brown with age, some flecked with what looked like dried blood. Corey's breath snagged when he spotted a notebook on a desk. Fresh, impossibly fresh, with messy kid handwriting scrawled across the pages, the ink still glistening.
Chat, why is there fresh paper in here?
He knew the answer. He just didn't want to say it. Then silence snapped. His flashlight wobbled as he jerked it toward the far wall, and froze. His stomach twisted, cold, and hollow.
Wait, hold up, chat, you seeing this?
The colors were faded, but unmistakable. Ban's goofy, too wide grin, Bambalina's pigtails like twisted ropes, Jumbo Josh looming, green and monstrous, in the corner. Corey's mouth went dry, tongue heavy.
Oh no! Nah! No way! We are not in Bamban's kindergarten! That's impossible. That's...
The chat exploded, neon pink. Game over LOL. S and UDD flooding the screen. Corey tried to laugh, but it came out thin and brittle.
Okay, silver lining, at least it's not Baldy, right?
He ran his light along the mural, catching slow Celine's half-lidded eyes, Nabnab's jagged teeth. The paint cracked but somehow fresh. Too fresh. Like someone had been here, painting over old horror with new.
Who's keeping this place up? And why?
A sound ripped through the air, a wet, skittering noise from the hallway, like something crawling on the tiles, claws scraping bone. Corey spun, katana half out, heart pounding, before he even realized he'd moved.
Nope. We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
He flicked on night vision. The camera's feed turned sickly green, showing empty tiles stretching into blackness. Then something darted, low, fast, a shadow barely more than a ripple.
Okay, what was...
The notebook on the desk fluttered open, pages rattling like teeth. Corey stopped breathing. The pages were covered in frantic scribbles, stick figures with way too many arms, eyes gouged out, red crayon smeared everywhere, bleeding into the paper. One phrase repeated, over and over, in shaky capitals. "They're hungry!" A giggle echoed down the hallway, high and broken, like someone grinding glass in their throat, or running a laugh backward through a broken tape deck.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Corey whispered, voice trembling. The chat went feral, run, and streamer diff, streaming by, but his body locked up, legs refusing to work. The giggle twisted, bubbling up into a wet, gurgling sound, then stopped, cut off hard, like a head snapped backward. Corey's grip on the katana tightened until his knuckles bled white.
Oh, right, chat.
He muttered, voice fraying.
Either we've got one lost toddler, or...
A chair scraped behind him. He spun, blade ready, but the room was empty. The notebook lay open, pages fluttering like wings in a wind that didn't exist, the air perfectly, horribly still. Then the lights snapped on. Not the busted old fluorescents. These were new bulbs, burning with a sickly, jaundiced glow. The mural's colors bled in the light, Ban's grin stretching wider, splitting his face, the painted eyes catching the light and reflecting it back, hungry and alive. Corey's camera fizzed, static crawling across the screen.
Oh, hell no!
He breathed, barely a whisper. The chat detonated, backdoor now, and blink mother. Scrolling too fast to read, but Corey's eyes stayed glued to the hallway. Something pale flickered at the edge of the camera's view, way too tall, way too thin, its fingers twitching spasmodically. The skittering came back, louder, closer. Corey exhaled a sharp, shaky breath and clicked his tongue.
All right, new plan, we leave.
He edged toward the emergency exit, rusted, warped, but still there, when a tiny handprint slapped against the window. It was small, but wrong, inhuman. 4 fingers splayed too wide, the thumb twisted at a sickening angle, the palm smeared with something dark and wet. The chat lost its mind. Honestly, Corey didn't blame them.
Nope, we're going out the front.
He spun and stopped dead. His stomach flipped, panic spiking as the world seemed to lurch and fracture. The floor just dropped away, and suddenly he was inside a rusted elevator that hadn't been there seconds ago. The metal cage shuddered, the smell of rot and copper thick in the air, as it started to sink, grinding down, deeper and deeper. The buttons glowed, B1, B2, B3, the numbers scratched out with furious, childish marker strokes, blood smearing the panel.
Chat,
He hissed, pressing himself against the grimy wall, katana up.
When did this place get a basement?
The elevator rattled, and somewhere below, something started screaming. Not human. Not anymore. The elevator lurched violently and shuddered to a stop at B3. The overhead lights buzzed, flickering, as the doors screeched open with a metallic groan that echoed down the concrete shaft. Right away, Corey was hit with the stench, coppery, sour, underneath the chemical tang of cleaner that just barely masked something rotten. Before him stretched a hallway lined with lockers, small, battered, painted a sickly institutional green now smeared with streaks of something dark and half-dried. Blood, Corey realized, blood or worse, sticky and congealed in long handprints he desperately tried not to think about. At the far end, a single bulb swung on its cord, casting erratic, stuttering light. Shadows jittered and crawled along the walls, elongating and twisting like something alive. Corey's camera feed glitched violently, the edges fragmenting into static, colors bleeding and warping until it looked like a VHS tape melting in the sun.
Okay, new plan.
He muttered, his voice trembling, only partially for the chat watching his stream.
We find the stairs. Now no more exploring.
He stepped out, boots squeaking on the grimy tile. As he moved, the lockers began to rattle, a metallic clatter that started softly but quickly became a deliberate rhythm, following his every step. The sound was wrong, like fingernails on bone. Corey didn't dare look back. He knew better. He'd watched enough horror streams, lived enough internet nightmares for that. But his chat? They were already spamming the feed with emojis and frantic messages as, behind him, a locker door creaked open, hinges shrieking in protest. The sound was slow, deliberate, like something was savoring the moment. Inside, he glimpsed a heap of broken crayons fused together with something black and sticky, and sitting atop it, one flawless, glossy red shoe, a child's size, the kind a kindergartner might wear on their first day. Except this shoe twitched, spasming with a life of its own, flexing and curling like the legs of a spider dying on its back. Corey's stomach lurched, and he picked up his pace.
Nope, we're not doing locker jump scares today. We're better than this. Right, chat?
He hissed, voice cracking. A giggle drifted through the air, high-pitched, gurgling, and sticky wet, like someone laughing while drowning. It was right behind his ear. Corey's heart hammered as his gaze snapped to a classroom door hanging half open, its windows smeared with bloody handprints too small to be adult. Inside, something pale and hunched crouched in the corner, back turned, rocking gently.
Hey, kiddo?
Corey called, voice strangled and taut, each word a desperate plea. The thing rotated its head with a nauseating crack, turning far too far, and revealed only a smooth, featureless oval where a face should have been. No eyes, no mouth, just blank skin, stretching and twitching, as if something pressed against it from the inside. The faceless thing cocked its head, studying him like a dog trying to decipher a trick. Then it screamed, a sound that wasn't human, wasn't animal, was nothing but pure, raw agony, shrill enough to shatter glass. Every bulb in the hallway burst in a chain reaction, spraying shards into the dark. For a moment, Corey glimpsed streaks of red splattering the ceiling as the filaments burned out, and then everything was pitch black. Behind him, the elevator doors slammed shut with a final, echoing clang. Corey didn't wait, didn't dare. He bolted, katana unsheathed and scraping along the wall, sparks flying, running blind as the skittering multiplied behind him. Hundreds of tiny, chittering legs scrabbling over tile, walls, and ceiling, closing in from every angle. Something cold and slick slapped at his ankles, and a low, guttural moan pulsed through the darkness. His flashlight flickered desperately back to life just as he reached the end of the corridor. Painted across the wall was a mural. Ban's monstrous grin stretched from ear to ear, teeth too many, too sharp, gums slick with glistening red. Painted hands, grotesquely oversized, reached out of the wall, their fingers bending and flexing like broken spiders, nails painted with blood. Corey slid to a stop, chest heaving, pulse roaring in his ears.
You've got to be kidding,
He gasped, the words barely audible. The mural wasn't just moving anymore, it was alive, pulsating with a sick rhythm. Ban's painted fingers curled and flexed, the wall bulging and throbbing as if something massive was pushing from the other side. The air vibrated with wet, sucking sounds. Corey's flashlight trembled in his grip as he staggered backward, boots slipping and something viscous pooling around his feet. He glanced down. The liquid was red, thick, and reeked of iron, fresh blood, spreading from under the lockers and the classroom doors.
God, if this turns into a fridge moment, I swear.
He managed, but his voice was drowned out by the cacophony behind him. The skittering erupted into a storm of tiny, clicking joints, echoing, multiplying, filling every inch of the hallway with insectal horror. Something brushed his leg and left a burning cold in its wake. Corey didn't look back. He couldn't. He ran, heart pounding in his throat, as the darkness closed in and the mural's painted hands reached, stretching, longing to drag him in.